All right, here we go. Back for part two. First game we got on deck here. I was looking at your picks. Happy to see we're on the same side here. Cardinals at the Raiders. Raiders home, giving 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
I took the Cards for 9 points. Looks like you got them for 5.
Yep.
I think as bad as the Cards look, they can't be that bad. I
Right.
think the Chiefs might just be that good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe Hollywood's a problem, but I think the Chiefs defense is going to turn out to be pretty good too.
Yeah.
Um, and it's fair to say the Raiders played a good opponent, but Carr, I thought he won a quarterback. I think for him, the way he needs to win and the Raiders need to win is kind of that 2016 Matt Ryan model, right? Where you're making every play on time. You're not messing up.
Yep.
You're not it's not about making the great plays. It's about you're making the good play every time you got the ball and you're never making the bad play, which there's just some place you're seeing him and he still looks like a 4th-year quarterback.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think other than that 1 year, that just is what he is. So as bad as the Cardinals are, it's a pretty big spread for them to be facing week 2. At the end of the day, they're still a team that won 12 games or 11 games last year. So,
yeah, no, I totally agree. It is funny, right? To your point about just run an offense where it's let's make the least amount of mistakes possible. I think that's why Renfro was so good last year, right? It was just a little 6-yard slant over the middle, things of that nature. And it's just, I don't know. It's just so weird to see Devontae Adams. Like, I'm just so used to him. I don't know, like in the red zone, a quick like step to the right, step to the left, and before you know it, it's a fade route to the back left of the end zone, and just Rodgers knows he's there, and Devontae knows the ball's going to be there. I don't think he and Carr have that chemistry obviously yet, and it's probably going to take a little bit of time. But it's just so weird seeing him just kind of like running over the middle. Again, I realize I didn't watch a lot of Devontae in Green Bay, but like I just feel like Carr does not have that connection with him, and he's gonna almost use him as like a Renfro guy, just run around everywhere and catch the ball when I throw it 6 yards over the middle, rather than utilizing him in his best way. He had was like 17 targets or some ridiculous number. Like that's on par for Devontae, of course, but I don't know. Seeing him in any other uniform besides the Packers feels weird. This is a total tangent, but it's two very strange teams to me. Two teams that I think, I don't know, are probably going to underperform compared to what's expected. I think you get the points, right? Just take the team that's getting the points. And
yeah. If the spread was 3, I'm probably fine with it for the Ravens.
Right. But it's a to be determined on the Derek Carr led Raiders. So let's go Cardinals.
Yeah. Next up, we got Bears at the Packers. We took Vikings pretty high last week, which saved us.
Yeah.
Really made up. That was a good pick. I think ended up having it for like 14 confidence. They just got whooped last year, and a lot of people, maybe you included, that's just what the Packers do. They get whooped week 1 and then they come back.
Yep.
Maybe this year is different. They don't have Adams. That's kind of what I was thinking. So I had it third least confident Bears, but you got it pretty high. So what do you got here?
I mean, yeah, you mentioned it. The first week is always weird for them, and I don't know what that is. Losing Adams is obviously about as big of a blow as you can get on offense. But I was super impressed with AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones, just from it's just weird, right, to see kind of a run first offense when Aaron Rodgers is at the helm. But I do think that they could if they can figure out a way to deploy those guys in a way where they're getting respectively 6 to 7 targets a game. They're super talented, right? And they're playmakers. I also think that the Vikings offense is just super high powered, and it's why it made that what should have been a pretty good Packers defense look not that, right? I don't have any fear in the Bears whatsoever. I think if the Bears are going to win a game, it's a game against pretty much a rookie quarterback in an absolute monsoon. And if you looked at the way they scored, right, it was just the most like what was that one? Who did Fields have the one pass where he basically rolled left, everyone converged?
Oh yeah,
he threw it across the field.
Might have been
like just that weirdness doesn't happen in normal weather, and it certainly doesn't happen against what I would say is a pretty respectable defense in the Packers, right? So I think that. Well, I know that Aaron Rodgers will not tolerate a loss to the Bears, and I think that to keep with the tradition, he'll make sure that he goes out and really figures out a way just to right. He's going to figure out a way to put somehow like 30 on the board. and I don't think that Bears offense is good at all. So I think that it is a ton of points to cover, of course, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think the Bears are going to be able to sustain nonstop handoffs to AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones, and then if what's his name, Christian Watson was it, learns how to
Yeah, he
catch.
catches that. Maybe it's a
I mean,
different
this
game
is a completely
script.
different
Yeah.
game, right? So there will certainly be at least 2 or 3 more of those against the Bears, and if he still wants to have a job, he's going to make that catch this game. So it just feels to me like a I guess you can't really call it a letdown spot because I don't think the Bears have much of expectations, but there's just no shot Aaron Rodgers doesn't show up to this game. He'll find anyone off the street and make them viable for a week if it means
Yeah.
yeah. So that's my 2 cents there.
Yeah, I'm good with putting the Packers a little bit lower.
Yep.
I think I read something like all of Jones's touches went for first downs. He's great.
Yeah.
Dylan looked awesome. And we'll see.
Yeah.
Watson catches a big pass.
It'll be fun. Yeah. Nice 1-2 punch. And the kind of 1-2 punch that as long as they have a lead, which I expect them to have, there's no way Aaron Rodgers is going to take the pedal off against the Bears. So there's a lot of games where if they were favored by this much, I'd probably go the other way. But because it's the Browns,
and it's not like Fields looked good last week. So
yeah, no,
still questions to be answered on that side. So I'm fine with that. Next up, we got Titans at the Buffalo Bills, the first of the Monday night doubleheader.
Great doubleheader, by the way.
I was so mad. I'm like, why couldn't this have been last week?
Right?
Also, like the 2 games I might want to see around at the same time.
The two games that I think
like put the Packers and Bears on at 7. I don't want to watch that.
Right? Yeah, just
quarter.
give me a little appetizer. Let Rodgers go up 20 at half, and then all right, boom, over to the what I think is the best game of the week. But
yeah, of course. And then we got so it's 9.5. We got it. It's up to 10 now. Bills are home opener. What's your thoughts?
I mean, if it's very, very simple, right? If the Bills beat the Rams by the amount they did, how on earth are they not going to beat the Titans by what 9.5? We got it at. Obviously, the Titans gave them problems in the past, and this I mentioned it earlier. 1 week in, Derrick Henry gets less touches than usual. This might be the game. It's like, all right, screw it. His foot's fine. Let him go for 40 touches. But even so, the Bills look so much more confident.
Yeah, they better
right.
They better receive the ball first, and they better score first.
Yep, exactly. Because if this becomes a ground and pound Derrick Henry show and he goes for 250 yards like he did, was like week 4 or 5 last year, it could be super close. I still think the Bills will win no matter what, but I feel very confident. I mean, they can pretty much just score at will, right? If the Titans are going to let up 20 some odd points against the Giants, then they're good for a good 50 spot against the Bills.
Home opener, really get the fireworks going.
I think it'll be pretty ugly for the Titans. And even if Derrick Henry goes off, they couldn't, for whatever reason, match his production when they played them last year, right? It was Derrick Henry would score a touchdown, and then for some reason the Bills would just freeze on offense. If you remember, that was when it was like 4th and inches, and rather than kick the field goal to go overtime, they let Josh Allen go for it, and he basically got the ball and completely fell over, and the game was over. So that's not going to happen this year. They're way more refined, much sharper offense. I think it'll be ugly.
Yeah, it's fine. I had the Bills for 5. You got them for 13. We'll meet in the middle. Put them around 9 between the Colts and the Bucks.
Cool.
So now we got the main event, potential NFC preview. For my money, after week 1, it looks like it might be Eagles hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Eagles 1.5 spread we're getting. It's up to Eagles -2. Split down the middle in Vegas. You seem to be pretty confident in your maybe Minnesota Vikings. What's going on?
Minnesota, I don't know. It really is amazing watching Justin Jefferson play. Like it's just God almighty. Like Cooper Kupp, it's the exact same way they use Cooper Kupp, right? You just move him in the line of scrimmage, and before you know it, he's a mismatch before he even goes out before he runs his route, right? And then all of a sudden he runs his route and there's just no one near him. He's also got several inches on Kupp, and he's definitely way faster than Cooper Kupp. So it's Kupp on steroids. It's awesome to see. But Jefferson aside, they're just moving the ball with such fluidity. It's just so crazy to finally see some of their offensive guys unlocked. Granted, I'm a huge Thielen guy, and he only had like 3 targets last game, so I'm hoping that gets I don't know, worked out a little bit, but that's what's going to happen when Justin Jefferson goes for the game that he did, right? Thielen
Hmm.
thrives when it's kind of a grinded out. We're on the goal line. We've been looking for someone to get open. Oh, boom, there's Thielen back of the end zone. I like the Eagles too, and I know that I'm definitely holding this Lions game. I don't know. I'm putting probably more into it than I should, but they looked awesome. They were moving the ball a lot like the Vikings were, but they were moving the ball against a team that, by all accounts, is not good. Right? By all accounts, the Packers on more from the defensive end should be a good team, and I think the biggest takeaway was that we probably discussed this last week. This is like a must win for the Vikings, and they didn't just win; they like won the game. They proved that not only are we good now, we're probably the NFC North favorite, which is crazy to say in a division where Aaron Rodgers has been the guy for the past 10, 12 years. So I thought that was super convincing. And if they can exercise those demons and finally beat Rodgers in a convincing fashion, why not go in and beat another team that's, again, super high powered, but I think that getting some points as well just helps my case. But now I'm excited for your end.
Yeah, no, might have done this pick when we watched that Eagles game just because I wanted to see AJ Brown really do what he does best. And it's, I said I don't really like Sirianni before last week, and I mean that offense was ugly for a large part of that game.
Yeah,
Took until really the end of the first quarter for the Eagles to get a footing. Up until then, it was first down, second down. Hurts runs for 15. First down, second down. Hurts runs for 10. A lot of punts. They were down to the Lions. I don't know. It's a little concerning. Smith had nothing. Uh, I just think in this ideal offense, yeah, AJ Brown's the target hog that's getting the treatment he got last week, 10 for 155. But it's not an offense where you need to seek out Devonta Smith. You're hoping he's finding his way in the cracks naturally.
yeah,
Whether it's 1 week going 4 for 80 in a TD or it's going, 3 for 60. I just think would have liked to see him be a little bit more involved, not forced. I just want him to be naturally. There's Devonta Smith being Devonta Smith, and there's Hurts getting him the ball in time, which we didn't see. I thought the offense looked a little ugly. They put up 38, but it was the Lions who I'm not a big fan of. So based on that, I do like the Vikings. I think you got a coaching advantage. You can't really say the AJ Brown effect when you got Justin Jefferson on the other side. And Kirk played awesome. And I think Kirk's always played pretty good and honestly pretty awesome when he's had a good coach and a good system around him in the regular season. Primetime Kirk. So who knows? But I'm good with the Vikings. I'll put them for right in between the Niners and Cardinals, right in the middle.
cool.
I do think they win this game, but I don't think it's an indictment on the Eagles yet. I just think the Vikings look hot and they look ready to really showcase themselves. And maybe by the end of the year, Hurts and Sirianni a little bit more comfortable getting everyone the ball in space and not funneling the offense through a guy, even though I do think that's what they should do. It's just not going to be sustainable against non-Lions teams.
Yeah, no. This feels like those kind of games, right? Where it's like, oh, remember when these two teams played week 2 and now they're so different, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It was like one of those, right? Where it's, they're the Vikings came out so hot and they knew what they wanted, but the Eagles were still trying things out. And before you know it, yeah, it's the NFC Championship game, and they're all clicking, and then who the heck knows that would be awesome. I honestly, right now, way too early. That'd be the most fun championship game in my opinion.
Yeah, these teams are awesome. They're awesome, especially if Hurts can develop the way I think he can. They just got people you love to watch on everywhere on the ball. And good O-lines too, or good line of scrimmage. So you're not going to be one team's at a clear disadvantage to the other. They match up pretty nicely. They're both good at the same things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited to watch. I think Smith, not the guy I really like, but maybe he's the X factor, and it could be the X factor in 2 ways. I think if they go into this game and they're like, how the hell did our 12th overall pick have 0 for 0 last week? They're going to definitely lose the game that way.
Yeah.
But they got to find a way. You gave AJ Brown the money. You gave him the contract. Everyone knows who he is. One of the best receivers in the league. He's your offense, and that's fine. But to win in this league, Smith's going to have to be involved. He's going to have to make big plays naturally in the flow of the offense. So we'll see. Maybe that's this week. And if it is, I think they win. But I think with Sirianni and Hurts looked good offensively, not great as a passer last week. I'm fine taking the Vikings.
Yep.
Not as an indictment on the Eagles, more of praise for the Vikings here.
Yep.
So there we go. That's the card. Card as of now. We'll see if we edit any. We got from most confident to least: Bengals, Falcons, Panthers, New England, Kansas City, Washington, Colts, Bills, Bucks, Niners, Vikings, Cardinals, Packers, Broncos, Ravens, and then Browns at the bottom to round it out.
Let's see. Off the bat, I feel like I might regret saying this. I feel like Tampa's a little too high. I'm like kind of worried about Tampa. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like just like I'm like a touch worried about them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not super confident in them either. I thought their offense wasn't that impressive actually. So I'm good moving them down. How low do you want to go?
No, that's fine. 6 is good.
Okay.
Six makes sense because I do think they're gonna win. I think anything lower than 6 is like I just don't really have much of like a read, and it could like I can justify either side. I think 6 is good. I think I'm pretty lockstep with the rest of this board. I think New England is a good one there. So we have them at 13. Yeah, no, that feels solid. I think that kind of like last week, I feel pretty good at the top. But let's hope it doesn't come back and bite us.
Yeah.
What was our number 2 last week? Was that Seattle, which ended up doing it for us?
We had Seattle at 1, which won it for us.
Seattle
but
won.
I think like our 14 and our 15 lost.
Right.
Eagles and Carolina. One thing I think moving forward to keep in mind, I'm trying to pull up the picks from last week, is these people are going to be chalky, and it's a small pool. It's only 17 people, but I mean, only one person took Seattle last week, and he had them for 3 out of 17 people.
Right.
And we're not doing straight up picks. We're doing it against the spread. So when it's that confident, we're in first, so we don't got to worry about it now. But I'm trying to see. There was 2 games. Yeah, and then last week everyone took Carolina except one guy took Cleveland.
Wow.
So I mean, we loved Carolina. We had them high. Everyone had Carolina for high too. Looking at it, everyone had them above 10. We love Carolina, but I don't think we love the value of 16 out of 17 people are going to put them for 10 plus. Exactly. Which I don't really see a game like that on this week. If there was one, it probably is the Bengals, but Cooper Rush isn't the guy I'm going to bet against the game. And we're in the pole position, so not something we got to worry about now. We'll see how it shakes out after a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we gotta play pace control offense now. Let's just give the ball to Jonathan
Taylor. Yeah, make them catch up to us. Make them take Cooper
Exactly.
Rush covering on the road against the Bengals.
I do like the Washington pick the more I think about it.
I'm thinking I want to switch them in New England.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna be in the Lions. Myself originally included, right? Yeah. But I think that's one of those that'll just kind of separate us from the pack.
Yeah, and we'll see. The funny thing is, I'm trying to see, because I was thinking too. I was like, oh, I wonder. The other reason I was semi-high in the Titans is like, oh, it's a New York pool. Wonder if a lot of people pick the Giants, but when it's the Giants, it's almost the opposite. People want to pick against the Giants.
Of course.
But that game ended up being pretty even, and everyone had it for low confidence, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Looking at the list, I would say the one exception to this moving forward would be like big line spreads. Almost everyone had the Chiefs, but that's because we were getting 3 points basically from opening to closing line.
Yeah.
And then the only other interesting game from last week, I would say, was everyone took Baltimore except one team. And then everyone took San Fran for pretty high. I think 14 out of 17 had San Fran, and most of them had them above 10. So I think San Fran, even if we don't want to pick against the team, even moving them to a lower value, a little bit of a hedge, especially in that weather, I thought it was an easy call to move them down.
Yep. So that was a great call by you. I'm trying to see if there's any other last ones here that could potentially give us an edge, but I don't think so. But yeah, I do definitely agree with your point of as lines continue to get larger and larger, I think people tend to go with take the points, too many points, right? So just something to keep in mind going forward.
Yeah, and I think the other reason, because I don't know between the Bucks and the Saints, but I do think the Saints might be a little bit chalky. I mean, they've won maybe someone just looks at this line and says the Saints always beat the Bucks. What's
Saints
different
always-
now?
exactly.
They're not even at full strength, the Bucks.
Yep.
So I think that could be a game where it is Tom Brady, so it probably won't be huge, but it might be a game where 12 out of 17 pick the Saints.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I think our Washington pick is good to separate us. Niners is good. Vikings, where we have them, don't think it really matters where people go with it. I think it'll be kind of 50-50 in terms of
Falcons was big last week too. I mean, so I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 teams took the Falcons, but this is kind of the same thing. The teams that took the Saints put them for, we got 12, 13, 14, 15, 13, 14. They all had them really high. So at that point, you're basically getting free points with the Falcons. You're getting you're only putting it as a 5 confidence, but in reality, it's like a 22, right? If everyone else is putting them so high, you're gaining so many points. So nothing this week that I think we're willing. Bengals would be the only one, but I'm not willing to bet against them in the pole position.
Again, that's like your free square and bingo, right? That's kind of looking at it. So if you want to be really ballsy, and if we were for whatever reason week 2 in need of a major push, then maybe you you go Dallas for somewhere in the middle. But no, I feel very, very good in the Bengals line.
And then the last thing, we're in the pole position, so I'm not sure if I want to risk it. The season prizes aren't that high, so the weekly is kind of the focus. But it's nice having the Monday Night Hammer, where say you're down 5, you got the cards in your hand where it's 16 points, you can switch. Now, I was telling people this and they were complaining, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I can't see what the first 2 teams picked. It just so happened that last week was obvious. Everyone was on the chalky Broncos. So it's easy for me to just sit there and say, yeah, I'm going to take the Seahawks. It looks like everyone took the Broncos. But on a week like this, maybe the Bills, but then 2 games on the same night, you're not going to really have a hammer, especially Eagles Vikings. It's going to be pretty split down the middle. So.
Yeah, right. But no,
but moving forward, I thought it was nice. It's like, you're like the last card to flip over in poker. You got all the cards in your hand. But at the same time, I was texting you. I'm like, I have a fear 8-15 hits. Top 3 teams all pick Seattle. We're all trying to outsmart each other. So
I don't think though. I mean, I don't know who's in this pool, but I can't imagine many people are of the I gotta, let's get really creative here. I think that they're just trying to win whatever, however possible. They just want to pick the team that, I know this sounds very very straightforward, but they want to pick the team that they think is going to win. To be honest, I had a decent feeling on the Seahawks regardless, right? Because as much as it was supposedly the Russell Wilson revenge game, it was
90% of the cash on the Broncos.
Yeah, it was more so the Seattle, oh my God, I can't wait to get to hit this guy revenge game, right? So while we acted a bit on game theory and being like, well, the majority of people will probably go with this, so let's just zag because we can't win regardless unless we pick these guys. I think we were kind of from a football perspective, and if this was just a straight up bet, I think that Seattle plus 5.5 made sense just from a pure in a vacuum sort of perspective. So something to keep in mind as well, right? Like doing it for the sake of doing it for like the game theory perspective versus doing it when we would, in a vacuum bet it on our own. So, it's just something to keep in mind. But
not something I really considered. Maybe I should have before last week, but I mean, you just look, it's like, oh, it's a spreads pool. I bet naturally it's just going to be 50-50.
Yep.
But, it's not. People like betting big favorites, and people like betting on or against certain teams.
Yeah. I think a lot of the time it's people look at this as who do I think is going to win? And is the spread within a range where I feel confident, right? Like if that line was Broncos like 9.5, let's say, I could see more people maybe being like, oh, you know what? That is just a lot of points. But because it was week 1, only 5.5 points, you feel like the Broncos are 10 times the better team. It's like, oh, this is easy money. So there is definitely a lot that goes into it. I think that at least me personally, I look less at the line first, more so with just the team that I like better. And then I factor in the line. Perfect example is the Bills. I think the Bills are just head and shoulder a better team than the Titans. Then you look at the line. Yeah, it's pretty big, but it's not enough for me to be scared away from the most high-powered offense in the league. So we just got to keep that in mind on those, as you say, those Monday Night Hammers. So those will be fun. I definitely see those swinging a few more contests as the weeks go by.
Yeah, especially if, depending how the season standings go, whether we have room to play or not. It's nice though, because it's supposed to be 50-50. It's a Vegas line. You don't want to sound smarter than you are. So
Right.
I think that the way to win is kind of through these margins. Like, hey, 15 out of the 17 people are taking this team.
Yep.
Who am I to like take up that value? So that last week, that Seattle games, it turned into a 32-point game, right? Could have been $85 and 32 points. So
Yep. Can't beat
but
it.
that's after that game theory talk. I think we got good set of rules moving forward. I think we'll find out a lot about teams this week. Really separate themselves into tiers.
Yeah. Week 2 is always that kind of that point, right? Where it's like, all right, these guys are. I know everyone says you can't overreact week by week because we saw last year it was teams are up and down, but I don't know. It's like if you look at like a trend line versus like look at the Bills last year. Like they were so up and down, but just take a look at that trend line, right? It was just like it was still pretty stable in terms of what they were doing. Yeah, things look pretty bleak, but it's important to look at every game in the grand scheme of things and not as oh my God, the Bills just got run on by the Patriots and they can't, just don't go like that.
Yeah. The one problem with this year, I will say, I don't know if I think it was before this year's draft because they were talking about how all the quarterbacks were falling because everyone has starters. I'm looking at the board now. I mean, it's hard to find a game where how both quarterbacks are going to play. I mean, Thursday night's, about the only one. There's just so many unknowns at quarterback right now. It's hard. And one of which being the Niners. I mean, if the Niners had Jimmy, that's why I said, just stick with Jimmy because you know what you are and it's an NFC title team and you got 25 other teams that don't know what they are.
Yeah. How many teams right now are like, oh God, I feel so good with my quarterback. Like
this list is great. I'm looking at it's insane.
I mean, it's probably more than 3/4 of the league that don't feel confident.
Yeah. The Sunday 1:00 window, we got Mac Jones versus Trubisky, 40-year-old Matt Ryan versus Trevor Lawrence, who looked awesome. Baker versus Jones, Brady versus Jameis, probably the best one. It's not saying much. Wentz versus Goff, Tua versus Lamar, who just looked bad against the Jets, Flacco versus Brissett, and then we got Geno versus Lance, Mariota versus Elbow Stafford. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's
9 games right there where you can't. No one knows anything about the quarterbacks.
It's probably more like 80%, 85% of the league who's like, I don't know how I feel about this guy.
Yeah.
That's going to be a humongous component when it, like just during the dog days of the season when it's, I don't know who to pick. Just go with the guy that you feel a little bit more confident behind center, right? Under center.
Yep. Okay, though. Feel good about the picks. Hopefully we keep it going in Dynasty. Get to 2-0.
Dude,
you worried about Eckler or no? It doesn't look good.
I don't know. It was kind of scary because every time they'd flush up on red zone, it wasn't Eckler. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, what have I done? I don't know. I'm also a big believer in running backs just starting slow because the teams are like, oh, we have to monitor their pitch count, and then before you know it, it's like, you know what? We're just a lot better when Eckler touches the ball 20 times versus like whatever he did last week, right? Or getting him in better position to succeed. It's my biggest test case.
And it could be a positive. It could be them. They want him to be ready in December, which I mean, that's where the money is for us. So we want to be. Sure. We want him ready in December. We don't care about week 1. We still want.
I'm fine with that. Yeah. Well,
it's a little scary. We won based off one Lamar Jackson debatement play.
I know. It felt like we were in pole position, but also, you said our opponent was more win now mode as well, right? So I think.
I thought he was the second best team.
So we'll be ready to stomp on some.
We were still the 3rd highest scorer with a pretty bad week. The only reason, I mean, once no ifs, ands, or buts. I think Eckler was the pick there based on like what I was thinking. You get Cooper Kupp, you might as well just
go on.
Can't pass up like the 3rd and 5th picks overall. Mm-hmm. But it's tough because the next three guys for me were Saquon, Brown, and ETN. So I mean, had a 66% chance at a pretty crazy pick there.
Yeah.
But it's Eckler. You can't be mad. You got what you knew what you were signing up for.
Yeah.
Easy to look in retrospect, but
100%
bounce back. Yeah. And he's someone I think that'll age well.
That's what I was going to say.
James White until 32.
Right, so. For sure. And it's clearly he's trying to buy into this whole longevity thing. The quote, what it was like, I don't want to touch the ball as much as I have in the past.
Yeah, we don't need him getting the touches between the 20s. We just need catches and touchdowns.
We'll see. Exactly. So we'll be
And
good.
it's, Rashad White got a lot of play. Garrett
Oh, yeah.
Wilson looked good. I
Mhm.
mean, I like it. I like
We
it a
got
lot.
we've got pieces to move. Yeah, I keep saying we're like the Heat. We're always in win now mode. We also have a few young aces up our sleeves. We have.
We're one of the youngest teams in the league.
I
It's
know
really not that
it is
close.
crazy. We just we're good. We're good now, but we're also we're very, as I like to say, we're very solvent. If God forbid anything ever happened and we just needed to totally pull the plug, I
Yeah.
mean, we could turn half these guys into either win now guys or, I mean, I'm not a proponent of just going for picks years down the line, but
We
we
have
can pretty
options.
much do whatever we find.
Yeah, that Thursday night game was so good. 50
Oh,
points within like 20
dude,
minutes.
oh my god,
It was nice.
yeah,
And then, I mean, Hill looked good, which is probably the person I was most worried about of our
yeah, no, I,
picks.
I was I
So,
was gonna say, and he's a little bit younger than you think, right?
yeah, I think he's only 28, 27.
Yeah,
So it's
so
not
he
bad. It's just
we
more
got
of, I was more worried about the changing teams and his talent. But they were,
yeah, no, and
I mean, you can make a case he's in a better role now, not touchdown wise, but when's the last time he got 8 catches on the Chiefs on that little volume?
oh
Right.
yeah, right,
He's
and
being
just
used like
kind
an
of
alpha, which is
get him out
not
in the
what he
open
is.
field, just let him do
Yeah.
his thing where he runs in a circle before he gets going. That's fine. Just get him the receptions, get him out there. He'll make plays. We
Yeah, they'll be forced to throw more. I mean, at halftime, he was 8 for 90 and he ended
yeah
with it. So, I mean, him and AJ Brown were going back and forth that first half. They're both accumulating.
yeah, just
So,
touchdowns will be interesting, but they'll 100% continue to find a way to manufacture touches for him. And who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if they start to use him. Not like Debo, because he's not many of the athlete like Debo, but end arounds and little screens. He'll find a way to get in the end zone that way as well.
yeah, and we got a big break with Montgomery getting hurt.
Yeah,
Ramondre will be getting some more because
who
he
I think
barely played, which is weird.
that was
And
very
then
weird.
now he's going to be probably one of the best roles in fantasy. So
Yeah,
it's
I
fine.
just
No
talent
harm, no foul. 1-0, and now we get a great running back.
yeah, the cards are, knock on wood, falling in at least my favor for the start of the season. This is
Yeah.
unlike my usual fantasy success. So I'm sure that by week 4, half our team will be out and we'll be scrambling. But yeah,
You
that's okay.
worried about Bateman or no? You fine? Just a weird
Uh,
game.
it's I don't know, that whole game was just so weird because I have Lamar in my other league as well. And I drafted him with the thought that this is a contract year, which is just very rare, right, for a quarterback to be on a prove it year. Like that's just like a quarterback of his stature to be on like a prove it year is weird to me. So I thought he'd go out and just absolutely tear it up, and I thought that Bateman would be his go-to guy, which to an extent he was. But yeah, the volume's a little concerning. Just the offense in general was just kind of weird. Even Mark Andrews, who you'd think is the freaking target
Yeah.
funnel on that team, only had what, like
5
6
for 50. Yeah.
yeah, like that's a little weird to me. But I also continue to tell myself that it is still week 1, and it's going to take a while for some of these offenses to kind of to kick it into gear. So who knows? Maybe they just weren't ready to show everything against the Jets. And
Yeah, right. We're complaining about 40 points combined from these guys,
yeah,
but it's only because it's the Jets. Maybe you get a 60-point game, but if you win, you win. It doesn't really matter.
yeah, no, I mean, he didn't look bad, right? Neither of them looked bad. They just looked
Sluggish,
sluggish,
and you got to
right?
think Lamar hasn't played in 10 months.
Exactly.
So,
So he's still getting up to the speed of things. We're not going to see MVP Lamar, I don't think. But if we do, that's amazing. But I think that what we saw was his floor, right? Just maybe not necessarily in the rushing department, which is kind of weird, right? I did think he'd scramble a little bit more, but again, maybe they're just trying to save that for when it's absolutely necessary against tougher opponents to break down. But less so from the box score side of things, but just from the fantasy side of things, I think 20 points, whatever he ended up with, is about the floor, right?
yeah, definitely.
Because let's say he rushes for 80 yards one game.
They didn't have to try.
Yeah.
You hope they have to this week, but
Exactly. So yeah, I think it'll be way more back and forth this weekend. So I'd expect a pretty big game from him, and let's just hope that it's less so the Duvernay show and more so the Bateman show.
yeah, I'm checking now too. Oh, Robbie was great too. That was a good pick. We got him so late
Yeah.
and immediately 5 for 100.
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
And we got the future Cade York too on waivers today. So hopefully they rack up the points for the Jets, get him some field goals. The guy we play this week, he was actually second highest scorer last week.
All right.
So decent team, but his running backs are both the Packers guys. So we'll see.
Interesting choice. Okay. So I do have AJ Dillon. I'm a pretty big AJ Dillon guy, but too rich for fantasy. I think he's going somewhere like the fourth, fifth
Especially in
round.
Dynasty. You got to think
Yeah.
he's dust after probably this year.
Yeah. So I am okay not picking him, but yeah, we'll see how it all pans out. It's just awesome. There's just nothing better. I just sit there and I scream at my TV for 8 hours, and my family's like, "What the hell is this kid doing?" And it's always for fantasy. It's yeah, like I love winning my bets, and it's so counterintuitive, but there's just nothing better than the guys that you have locked in on for months now. When they pan out, you feel like a genius. Like
Yeah.
it it did feel really good. Thursday certainly felt better than Sunday for our dynasty team, but God, man, dude, when Gabe
That
Davis
Bateman
a
play was
touchdown, and then
crazy.
yeah, I mean,
I was getting a little worried and then bang.
I would say yeah, I would say between the hours of Thursday at 8 in the Bills game to basically that Bateman touchdown, I was like on cloud nine. I was like, we are absolute gods, and we could not have picked a better team. Then things started to
Yeah.
slow down a little bit. You started to get a little dicey. You said we were a Fournette.
Fournette. Yeah. Fournette scored, we lose. Yeah.
So it got way scarier than it probably should have, but I don't know. We have way too much firepower to worry.
Yeah, it's just a nice looking team.
It is.
It's
one of those teams. You
close.
open the app and you just look at it and you're like, oh god, that is just so good.
It's like funny to think about, but our worst starters are probably Gabe and Bateman. You know,
I know. Yeah, I think Bateman's the only one I feel like a little iffy on, but he's so young. It's like he's the age of half these guys that you're taking in the first 2 rounds, right? Like what is he, 22, 23?
Yeah. I think worst case he ends up being like a Robert Woods. We'll never be mad with him, but
yeah, no, absolutely
he
not.
might not be an alpha.
Oh, for sure. And even the same with Gabe Davis. It's like he will never be the number one.
Yeah, different equation. He might only get 2 catches, but his floor is probably
yeah.
Put that touchdown projection at 1. Don't need to put like a 0.7.
Exactly. And he's also 23, and we got him in like the 7th round or whatever it was. So still feels like to me.
I think Garrett's the craziest. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I told my friends after, I'm like, we just did our other rookie draft. How many of these players could you have traded for the 103 where Garrett Wilson went? And they're like, wow, it's a pretty good point. Didn't think of it that way.
I don't. Yeah. Again, I'm new to the dynasty scene. I don't know how he fell that. Like that is just absurd.
And it's nice because we don't have to play him. You know,
oh yeah,
he can basically just sit there all year.
Because
like I'd rather play Jacoby and Jacoby and Robbie are just as good plays. So it's
100%. Yeah, and I mean less so Jacoby, but I still think Carolina's offense is going to score more points than the Jets and potentially the Pats. Robbie was a great pick because I had him. I think was it 2 years ago when he balled out, and didn't have him last year, thankfully. But I was like, this guy is just absurdly slept on now. It's like Nike's a bad player, you know. I think also a lot of the concern was that. What did he say on his like Instagram story? Is like when
Baker.
Yeah, he was like, I hate this guy. Like if this guy comes, I'm gonna retire. It's like, well, that's probably not good optics, but he's more competent than anyone you've had this far. So
yeah, he's not good, but he's not great, but he's an accumulator. He's gonna
yeah. And clearly he's got an affinity towards him right now. I mean, as a DJ Moore owner in another league, I'm not very happy about it, but
nothing.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I'd say I'll end on this last thing under talked about. As much as I root for them, the Falcons, I mean, could not have had a better day if they want the first pick in the draft next year with the Seahawks, Bears, and Texans not losing. Gosh. So I said before the season, I really do think the Jets are our biggest competition.
Yeah.
But really good start to the tank to lose a game like that. So
you know what, the Falcons are kind of like OKC. It's a team that is on paper probably way too good to be tanking, and have a few like cornerstone pieces, and will probably be competitive in a lot of games, but they will easily find ways to lose. Like, no doubt about it. Like they can be in every game, and then push comes to shove. All right, you know what? We'll take the foot off. We'll take our feet off the brake and go for that first pick.
Yeah, I want the best day of the year to be next April 27th or whatever. I don't care really. I want them to win, but no loss is a real loss. So, okay, we'll see you guys next week. Tally our picks if you want to win. 1-0 so far. We'll be back 2-0 next week.
Absolute wagon.